But at this present moment, let's get into our car talk. This week, we explore how virtual reality can actually be used to enhance your buying experience. Audi is launching a virtual reality showroom where you can test drive a car fitted with your specifications without actually getting to drive the car, actually stepping into it. South Africa comes on board with a digital showroom in Centurion in Gauteng. Now, here to tell us a little bit more is Audi's public relations manager, Tashta, Bhana, and our resident motoring specialist, Francisco Nwamba. Good morning, guys. Are you well?
Good morning.
Good. Let me start with yourself, Tashta. What is this all about?
So you would think of a traditional dealership, in this case an Audi dealership, and it's one that's quite premium, it's quite busy, there's lots of cars on the showroom floor, and you would go to a sales consultant and basically explain what you're looking for. And this is sort of like an innovation to that traditional bricks and mortar dealership where there's a dedicated, intimate, private customer lounge, or CPL, that what we've called it, where you have one-on-one engagement with a really experienced sales consultant in a premium environment. But you get to digitally configure your car in virtual reality without having the car being physically available on the dealership showroom floor. So it gives you a really premium, innovative sense. You get to touch, feel, sit in the vehicle without actually being in a physical vehicle.
In the vehicle itself. So then you, those are the goggles that you're showing us now. You put those goggles on and you get the feel of the car, how it drives. Do you really get the feel of how it drives, though? That for me could be a bit of a problem, Francisco.
I think that would be perfect for the next step. If I look at this process now, we've all gone to a dealership before, and the first thing is, I want this kind of vehicle, I want that kind of vehicle. They say we don't have that. So I think going towards this step now where you can actually sit and see the vehicle that you're going to own, that's a great thing. I would love to, in the future, see a space where you can actually now experience a very high-end vehicle. And I think it actually benefits both parties, because if you look at, for instance, an Audi R8, it is a high-end vehicle and most people would want to drive something like that.
Yeah. And
it would be amazing how in the future, similar to how like a Formula One driver would use virtual reality to keep his skills sharp, then you can actually experience this vehicle and then say, okay, I wanted that color and this and this. But obviously that's just my bucket list. I know right now we've got the fact that you can do the aesthetics. In the future, it would be great to kind of see like a driving perspective of it as well.
I mean, I can see how it can work from the color perspective, and you can spec the car basically the way you want. I mean, you're not going to be able to do this in real life, because otherwise you're going to have to get a yellow car, blue car, that also saves in terms of costs for the dealership, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly what, like, the type of feedback that Audi Center Centurion has given us. You don't have to physically have the vehicle there to upsell the customer into what he actually wants. And what we see in the premium market is customers are very informed. As a motoring journalist, Francisco would probably tell you more about that. He's already researched what he wants, he's compared, he's looked at options, and when you come into a dealership, it's almost like it's a small process of evaluation. So you're quite specific on the color you want, on the interior, the different comfort packages, and this gives you that sort of realistic experience in virtual reality.
Are salesmen going to lose their jobs here? Persons, yes. The laugh, is that a yes or no?
I think in South Africa there always needs to be a good combination of that. A customer would still want that human element. That's why there's a sales consultant enabling the technology and using the digital technology with you. But I mean, you'd still need that human element in terms of coming back to service your car, getting knowledgeable advice going forward. So I think it's a good combination of giving the consumer what he wants in terms of digital innovation within a traditional dealership environment.
Now, Francisco, Audi is not the only automaker offering this around the world, are they?
I think there are other automakers as well that are shifting in this space. I think it's nice that it's translating into our continent now. We always kind of feel a bit left behind when you hear about all the cool things that happen overseas, and then you don't see it here in South Africa. So it's exciting for us, especially as motor journalists, to know that this process is filtering into our country, because we'd like to now catch up with the innovations that's happening. Because you go overseas, I mean, we'll talk about how you can actually go into some countries and actually go into a mall and actually, experience what a vehicle is like there. I know there's one or two brands that do that in the country, but it would be nice that, as I'm doing my shopping, I can quickly go see what car I want to, see and experience and all that. So it's nice for us to have.
I love to actually drive the car.
Yeah.
That for me is where the problem with this is. Yes, you can see the colors and all the lovely stuff, but the feel of the drive for me is also very important. If it's a, if it's a four-wheel drive, how it takes the corners and all that stuff, does it stick to the road? That's going to be missing in this particular instance. You still have to get that person who loves to drive into a vehicle, yes?
Yes, I would agree with that. And I think what it is that first step process is the initial thing. Obviously now, it's also a nice way to gauge the customer, to also see what's going to happen next. So we've configured your vehicle now. If you places the order, chances are you can actually source a type of vehicle like that for that customer to experience the car. But I think for the initial process, this actually eliminates that time, because one of the biggest things that we just don't have time. Most of the times it's like a Saturday morning thing for you to go and try and buy a vehicle. So it does shorten that process, and I think thereafter we can get into that. But like I say, I still want to do a virtual reality test drive.
I don't get it. Okay, but it looks very cool. I think it looks very cool. And this is the only way to go, though, for vehicles, though, Francisco, to a certain extent, because you can't make them faster. You can't do anything more to these cars. Almost every car you're going to get from, if I want to go from here to Joburg Center, a Bucky or the fastest car in the world will probably, will make it at exactly the same time, because the traffic, the stoplights and so forth. So it's all the gimmicks around the cars now that your automakers are now working on, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an innovation. There's various digital forms of innovations that car makers are introducing, whether it's in the retail environment, whether it's in the cars specifically. There's various connect services that are also within the digital portfolio, and also in terms of manufacturing. I mean, Audi's also introduced VR in terms of manufacturing cars. So I think a lot of manufacturers are following a digitalization strategy approach, and then just incorporating that type of innovation within a retail environment is just one of the small steps towards a bigger digitalization strategy or approach.
All right, I'm going to come and try it and see if I buy it.
You must.
Okay.
You must.
All right. Thanks, guys. Audi Public Relations Manager Tashta Bhana and our resident motoring specialist Francisco Nwamba.